I thought I was over talking about the Sixers' lack of activity at the trade deadline and how incredibly disappointing it was. But tonight they just got absolutely destroyed by the New York Knicks, who were on the second night of a back-to-back. A second night of a back-to-back after playing an overtime game against the Indiana Pacers, in which they lost. They had to travel to Philly, albeit not a far drive at all. That being said, the Sixers lost by 49 points. It was in a game in which Joel Embiid was out, Quentin Grimes was out, and they just got destroyed. And so the game was the game. And it just kept bringing me back to the Jared McCain thing and why they just decided to get worse and just not do anything to improve the team. Now, since we last spoke, I said they would look to add people on the buyout market and people who get released. Well, it turns out Cam Thomas signed with the Bucks, Mike Conley re-signed with the Wolves, Javon Carter signed with the Magic, I believe. And so the Sixers signed Dalen Terry, who is a guard that played for the Bulls. He stinks. That's not the point. I want to talk about what happened before the Jared McCain trade and how Daryl Morey arrived at the decision to trade away Jared McCain. Now, I might have mentioned this before. Daryl Morey he goes by the belief that if you have even a 5% chance to win the championship, you should go all in at the trade deadline. It's worth going all in for. So, and he said this on Bill Simmons' podcast a few years back, and it's something he often refers to. So, in a year where I sound like the guy making the trailers, in a year when Jason Tatum is out of the playoffs, presumably, Tyrese Halliburton is out of the playoffs. Giannis may even be out of the playoffs. You, as the general manager of the Philadelphia 76ers, are going into the playoffs with two of the 10 best players in the conference, in Tyrese Maxey and Joel Embiid. Tyrese Maxey is an all-star starter. Joel Embiid is playing at MVP-like level. He's dealing with knee soreness again. Who knows if that's going to set him back? We don't know. That being said, how do you look at that team with Paul George eventually coming back, a first-year player in VJ Edgecombe, incredibly promising, and say, this team isn't a championship contender, and do nothing? If I was the general manager of a team that had Tyrese Maxey and Joel Embiid on it, and I thought there wasn't even a 5% chance of that team contending for a championship, I would do some serious self-reflection. Why is that the case? I've been saying it all year long. Is it because of the coach? Well, then fire the coach. Is it because you don't have enough role players that can scale up when Tyrese or Joel are injured? Well, then make trades to get better role players to improve. Instead, not only did you not do anything to improve, you did something to actively make the team worse. That's what I can't wrap my mind around. You could have dumped Andre Drummond. Jock Landale went to the Hawks for cash. Not even picks. Not even to mention the Sixers have 14 second-round picks. He went for cash. You couldn't fork up some cash to get an actual NBA backup center? Andre Drummond does not belong in the NBA anymore. Adem Bona is barely an NBA player. All of the Sixers role players are forwards or centers. You know, Daryl Morey said in the press conference, we have a glut of guards. No, you don't. Your glut of guards, two of them included Kyle Lowry and Eric Gordon, one of which is gone, one of which is unplayable because he's essentially a player coach. He didn't play 1 minute tonight, and that was without Quentin Grimes playing. So now you have this problem of all these players that can't scale up. And when I say scale up, what does that mean? Well, when you look at the other teams like the Knicks and the Celtics, if their best player misses a game, they can go from shooting 6 shots to 9 to 12 shots. They can handle the ball sometimes to handling the ball a lot. And there's no drop-off in their efficiency, and there's no drop-off in team play, for the most part. It's enough to get by and win games. And that's why you see all these years, as when Joel Embiid is missing games, everybody's like, wow, Joel Embiid is great, and he is. But it's not like he's the best player in NBA history, and without him, the Sixers are trash because of that. They're trash because Daryl Morey has surrounded this team with role players that are incapable of scaling up. Kelly Oubre can't handle the ball more than he does when Tyrese and Joel are playing. Trendon Watford doesn't shoot threes. Dominic Barlow doesn't shoot threes at a high volume. Tonight, Tyrese Maxey accounted for 50% of the team's made three-point attempts. They made 6. He made 3 total. On most nights, he accounts for about 37 to 40% of the team's total attempts. That's a disaster. That is no way to build a team. But that's what we have here. And so Daryl Morey decided to trade a guard who wasn't getting enough minutes. He was getting like 10 to 12 minutes a game, but he should have been getting more because we have a serious lack of three-point shooting volume on this team. And that's why you're seeing Tyrese Maxey, not only is he being run into the ground, but he's having these bad shooting games is because Nick Nurse is basically just saying to him, like, hey, man, like, we don't have any other shooters on this team that can even, like, get shots up. We need you to hoist threes even if they're bad shots. And you're seeing his efficiency take a dive because of it. And it just brings me back to I have no idea why Daryl Morey did this. It only makes sense. Like I said, it only makes sense if his plan is to trade Joel Embiid in the offseason to sell high, build around VJ and Tyrese, and you want to keep as many picks as possible. But I know that's not the case because, one, Daryl Morey doesn't trade. He doesn't sell high on stars. That's not who he is. And two, even if that was the case, you could still trade a few seconds for some playable role players to improve your team and make this like the last dance, the last hurrah with Joel Embiid, even if that was your plan. But it wasn't your plan. Your plan was to duck the luxury tax, and I have no idea why. I mean, I do know why. It's because Josh Harris is cheap. But even if you wanted to duck the luxury tax, you could have still done that and improved the team. The Celtics ducked the luxury tax, I believe, and they still traded for Nikola Vucevic. And somehow the Celtics, without Jason Tatum all year long, have a much better record than the Sixers because they're a better coach team and they are a better managed team. They have a better general manager. So this whole idea that I can buy that the Sixers weren't championship contenders at the deadline, but you will not convince me that there was no move to be made to actually get them to that point. I'm sorry. I'm not buying the fact that, we could have paired Giannis and Embiid together, which was a terrible idea, and I went in on that in a previous video. But that's besides the point. You can't convince me that that was the only move to make. And that with Tyrese Maxey, Paul George, Joel Embiid, VJ Edgecombe, there was no move around the margins that you could have made to improve this team. And that's what gets me. Jose Alvarado tonight, a guard that the Knicks got for 3 second-round picks, made 8 3-pointers against the Sixers tonight. Don't you think he could have helped? This is the problem. Daryl Morey doesn't care about you unless you're a star. If you're a role player, in his mind, you don't matter. He's still living in 2017, where there's stars and there's a bunch of 3-and-D role players that just stand around, they can't dribble, they just shoot and defend. That NBA doesn't exist anymore. Look at the Pacers from last year. A bunch of guys that can dribble, pass, and shoot. Look at the Celtics, the Knicks. Bunch of guys that can dribble, pass, and shoot. Athletes, not slow guys. Like, I feel like I'm going insane. You're telling me that there was nobody that you could get to improve this team around the margins and make things easier for your star players and make it easier for when the star players have to sit out due to injury or even rest more in games because you're overworking them? I just don't understand what was the plan here. It's like you spun a wheel and it landed on do the worst possible thing. And not to mention Jared McCain scored like 12 points tonight on 5 for 7 shooting for the Thunder. He's been great for them just because they're letting him play. It makes no sense no matter which way you slice it. If a team with Joel Embiid, Paul George, Tyrese Maxey, if this isn't a team worth buying into, then what is the point of any of this? Are we just going to keep doing this cycle over and over again year after year? Like, I'm repeating the same stuff I said from the video I made previously, but tonight it just really hit me. Like, I cannot believe he did this. I don't know. I don't know what they're going to have to... I don't know what they're going to do moving forward. They have 2 playable guards, one of which Quentin Grimes has struggled all year long, and he shoots like 2 threes a game. He needs to up his average. You hope Tyrese Maxey's 3-point average regresses to the mean positively. I thought he did that after the Clippers game where he went 7 for 14, I believe. But then he shot like 30% since then. So, like, I don't know. It's unbelievable that there were all these players out there that you could have got for second-round picks. You have 14 second-round picks. What are you stashing them for? You could have got Jose Alvarado. You could have got a backup center that can shoot threes and actually tries, unlike Andre Drummond. You could have got a wing to replace Kelly Oubre when he plays like a bozo like he did tonight. You're out there playing with like 4 big men at a time in Tyrese Maxey because your ill-fitted roster makes absolutely zero sense. It's pathetic. And in a year, no less, when the conference is wide open, every other team made moves. You didn't. It's just baffling. It's baffling. The good news is the Sixers play the Hawks the first game out of the All-Star break. So the Hawks fans won't overrun the arena like the Knicks fans did. And if the Sixers lose that game or any game for the rest of the year, we can actually start a Fire Morey chant going. We couldn't tonight because the Knicks fans drowned out the Sixers fans. That's another pathetic aspect of this, but that's it for now. Give me a like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. I will see you guys next time.